Africa faces a major challenge of dominance as leaders refuse to step down and hold on to power despite time and age failing them. Here are top 10 African leaders who have refused to give up leadership positions despite various challenges. 1. Teodoro Obiang of Equatorial Guinea. He gained power in 1979 and is still in power as the president of Equatorial Guinea till date, making him Africa's longest-serving president. 2. Paul Biya of Cameroon. He gained power in 1982 as the president and at the age of 92 has reportedly declared interest to run for another term during Cameroon's next presidential poll. 3. Yoweri Museveni of Uganda. He gained power in 1986 after seizing a true rebellion and has served as the 9th and current president of Uganda since then. 4. Denis Sassou of the Republic of Congo. He gained power in 1997 and before then has served as the president between 1979 to 1992. He passed the new constitution in 2015, which enabled him to stand for another term in 2016 and 2021 presidential elections with a majority in the first round. 5. Paul Kagame of Rwanda, a politician and former military officer. He gained power in 2000 after leading the Rwanda Patriotic Front. 6. Isaias Afwerki of Eritrea is a politician and leader who gained power since independence in 1993 as the president of Eritrea and the former chairman of the People's Front for Democracy and Justice since 1994. 7.
Nigerian music industry has witnessed a significant shift in popularity and success over the years. Many artists who once dominated the airwaves and commanded large followings have seen their careers decline. Here are 10 Nigerian artists whose careers have gone down the drain. 1. Daddy Shoki. Daddy Shoki was a pioneer of the Agbaman style of music. His popularity peaked in the 1990s with hits like Diana. However, his music career has declined significantly since then. 2. Olumentain. Olumentein's hit single Yawuze became a massive success in the late 2000s. However, his subsequent releases failed to match the success of Yawuze, leading to a decline in his music career. 3. Face. Face was a prominent figure in the Nigerian music industry in the late 1990s and early 2000s, despite his hit singles including Femi Kuti and Kolo Mental. His career has struggled to maintain momentum. 4. Solid Star. Solid Star's music career has faced significant challenges, including limited releases and reduced visibility. Despite his initial success, he has struggled to regain momentum in the competitive Nigerian music industry. 5.
Hello there, I'm glad to have you join us today for the news, reports and updates on African News 24 TV. I'm Mary Adin. Let's take the highlights first. President Tinubu replies Donald Trump, says accusation not representative of national reality. Nigeria's market assets drop. Naira crashes after Trump's threat. Nigerians react to Trump's threat. Ask government to take responsibility. Now to the meat of the bulletin. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu has responded to a threat by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, over genocidal attacks on Christians in Nigeria. The President, Bola Tinubu, describes the claims by Donald Trump as not reflecting the national reality of the country. In a statement he personally signed, Tinubu insists the country strictly upholds the constitutional guarantees of religious liberty. He kicked against Trump's claim of an existential threat to the Nigerian Christian faith. According to Tinubu, in quote, religious freedom and tolerance have been a core tenet of a collective identity and shall always remain so, end of quote. Tinubu underscores his administration's commitment to engage openly with people from various religious leanings. He also expresses the readiness of Nigeria to work with the United States government and other international community to deepen understanding and cooperation to protect communities of all faith. And in a quick reaction to the threat, Nigeria's dollar bonds have recorded the biggest losses among emerging markets after former U.S. President Donald Trump threatened military action against the country over alleged killings of Christians. Bloomberg data showed all 10 of the worst performing emerging market bonds were Nigerian, with 2047 notes falling as much as 0.6% to 88.26% on the dollar. The Naira also fell 1.2% to 1,442 Naira 80 kobo per dollar, its sharpest intraday drop since June. Analysts say the decline reflected investor jitters over Trump's comments, though they maintain confidence in Nigeria's economic fundamentals. Market watchers, however, expect the sell-off to be short-lived, noting that Nigeria's recent economic reforms and improving fiscal outlook could help restore investor confidence once geopolitical tensions subside. The Nigerian government has reassured investors that the country's economic fundamentals remain stable and insisted that external statements would not alter ongoing fiscal reforms, security operations, and efforts to attract foreign investment. Meanwhile, the federal government says Nigeria is making steady progress in the fight against terrorism, banditry, and other crimes. This comes as the United States President Donald Trump recently threatened to attack Nigeria if the federal government failed to act fast on what he described as genocide against Christians. At a joint national security press briefing in Abuja on Monday, the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Lanre Issa Onilu, highlighted improvements in arrests, rescues, and reduced fatalities across conflict-prone regions. We have details in this report.
Nigeria says it is making measurable progress in the fight against terrorism and violent crimes, despite renewed global fears of rising extremism, recently echoed by the United States President Donald Trump. At the monthly National Security Press Briefing, the Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Mr. Lanre Issa Onilu, announced that security agencies recorded a 33% increase in arrests, rising from 42 in September to 56 in October. He said this improvement is due to stronger intelligence sharing and joint operations across the military, police, DSS, and local security outfits.
I believe everybody has a copy of this, especially the people from the media. Okay, so you have that immediately after. Okay, so this is the briefing for the month of November 2025.
While Donald Trump recently warned that global terrorism could resurface more aggressively if nations fail to act, the Nigerian government says it is taking a data-driven collaborative approach rather than relying on fear or rhetoric. On anti-corruption, the ICPC recorded 44 petitions, concluded 15 investigations, filed 5 new cases, and secured 2 convictions in October, with over 81 million naira recovered. The NOA Director General reaffirmed the government's commitment to supporting security forces and maintaining peace across the country.
Reactions have been trailing the threat by the President Donald Trump of the United States of America. Prominent Nigerian religious and traditional leaders have dismissed the claims as exaggerated and misleading. Speaking separately, Senior Pastor of Guiding Light Assembly, Wale Adefarasin, Archbishop Simeon Borokini of the Anglican Communion, Akure Diocese, and the Oba of Lagos, Real One AKIOLU, faulted Trump's remarks and urged for a more balanced understanding of Nigeria's security challenges. Pastor Adefarasin said the killings in parts of the country were not new and should not be seen as targeting only Christians, and explained that violence in Nigeria had existed for decades and affected people of different faiths. Archbishop Simeon Borokini also rejected Trump's claim, saying both Christians and Muslims have been victims of insecurity. He urged the government to strengthen efforts to protect all citizens. Also, Oba AKIOLU described Trump's statement as wrong, adding that such comments could create unnecessary tension. He said Nigeria's security problems were caused by criminality and poor governance, not religion. The leaders called on foreign figures to verify information before commenting on Nigeria's internal affairs and urged the government to ensure peace and security across all regions. More reactions have continued to pour in after the threat by the U.S. President Donald Trump. Some Nigerians have described that threat as a wake-up call for the leadership of the country to live up to its responsibility of protecting the life and property of Nigerians, irrespective of tribe and religious beliefs. Security experts and public affairs analysts want the government to take whatever lessons are needed to be taken and move on. Our next report captures the polls of Nigerians, some of whom believe Trump's sudden interest has a hidden agenda. And over to politics. The leadership crisis within the People's Democratic Party escalated on Monday as two opposing factions publicly clashed over who holds legitimate authority as national chairman. ABDULRAHMAN Mohammed, who announced his assumption of office as acting national chairman, insisted that the move was in line with the party's constitution, declaring the PDP cannot continue on the weak and compromised leadership. He said he's stepping in to restore order, discipline, and respect for internal processes. However, loyalists of the suspended chairman, Umar Damagum, swiftly rejected Mohammed's claim to the seat, describing the takeover as illegal and politically engineered. A spokesperson from Damagum's camp countered, saying there is no vacancy in the office of the national chairman. He described Mohammed's action as a desperate attempt to hijack the party from the back door. The exchange ignited tension at the PDP National Secretariat in Abuja, where supporters of both camps converged, some chanting solidarity songs and others demanding that the party leadership respect the will of legitimate authority. Security operatives were deployed to maintain order as fears mounted that the standoff could erupt into confrontation. Calls for active youth participation and responsible media engagement took center stage at a recent forum on strengthening Nigeria's democracy. Stakeholders expressed concern that, despite over 2 decades of uninterrupted democratic rule, issues of governance, leadership, and accountability remain unresolved. They urge young Nigerians to rise beyond political complacency and contribute meaningfully to shaping the country's democratic culture. Our next report has more details.
Speaking at the conference, Adebayo Bodunrin, a journalist, cited historical examples of youthful leadership in Nigeria's early years, such as Mantana Sule, who became Minister of Mines and Power at 27, and Martin Umbu, appointed High Commissioner of Britain at 26, emphasizing that today's youth must aspire to leadership rather than serve as aides to politicians.
Mantana Sule was 27-year-old when he became Minister of Mines and Power. 27. Martin Umbu was 26 when he was appointed Nigeria High Commissioner, the first Nigeria High Commissioner to Britain. 26. So, and that is the reason why youth of today must not allow themselves to become carrying bags for those who are projecting themselves as our leaders.
While acknowledging improvements in the Electoral Act, the Executive Director of Kimpact, Bukola Idowu, noted that the elections naturally come with disagreements that require fair adjudication. However, he expressed concern that it has become increasingly difficult to separate the judiciary from the electoral process, as courts now often determine the final outcome of elections.
Anything that is competition, that is bound to be disagreement. So somebody must adjudicate. But again, I also hope you know that it is also increasingly difficult now to separate the judiciary from our elections, that they are even declaring the winner.
The speaker stressed that credible elections depend not just on laws but also on citizen vigilance and media accountability. The National Secretary of NUJ, Achike Chude, at the forum reflected on the 2023 elections, stating that both civil society and the media faced public criticism for failing to hold the Independent National Electoral Commission accountable. She explained that Nigerians, especially the youth, had trusted these groups to ensure credible elections, but INEC's poor performance left many disappointed.
People came for us. The Nigerians came for us. The young people came for us because we were the ones that guaranteed INEC that INEC was going to have a good election. and INEC messed everybody up. So in a way, both civil society and the media stood condemned by the people for not doing their due diligence on INEC.
Lastly speaking at the conference, the governance advisor for FCDU, Matthew Ayibakuro, shared his experience with electoral reform processes, noting that progress is often inconsistent, one step forward followed by several steps back. He stressed that the media practitioners and social media influencers play a crucial role in interpreting and simplifying these reforms so citizens can better understand and engage them.
I've been through a couple of reform processes now, and sometimes you make one progress, you're celebrating it, and then you make 3-4 steps back. And this is where your role as media practitioners and social media influencers is really key, because you have the unenviable job to decipher and simplify these reforms in ways that citizens can understand.
The forum also reflected on civil society and media's failure to adequately scrutinize electoral processes, urging continuous public engagement on governance. Participants concluded that silence is not an option if democracy is to thrive.
The Lagos State Police Command has declared human rights activist Omoyele Sowore wanted, allegedly planning to incite public disorder and block major roads across the state. Commissioner of Police Oloundare Jimoh made this known while addressing journalists at the Yanowuru section of the 3rd Mainland Bridge on Monday, November 3, 2025. According to the police chief, security operatives are closing in on Sowore and others accused of coordinating activities aimed at disrupting public peace and obstructing traffic flow. Jimoh said intelligence reports revealed plans to stage simultaneous demonstrations at strategic locations, including the 3rd Mainland Bridge, Lekki Tollgate, and Freedom Park. He described the alleged plan as criminal, warning that it could lead to severe traffic disruptions and put lives at risk. The commissioner confirmed that 13 suspects have already been arrested in connection with the planned protest. While Sowore reportedly remains at large, he added that investigations are ongoing to identify sponsors and collaborators behind the alleged movement. To forestall any breakdown of order, the command has deployed personnel to key flashpoints, particularly bridges, highways, and public spaces, with temporary diversions and checkpoints set up to ensure safety. Jimoh assured residents that the measures are preventive and short-term, urging Lagosians to go about their daily activities without fear, as security agencies remain on high alert. The people of Oko Kingdom woke up to a heavy downpour as flood waters sweep through their farmlands and homes, destroying their source of livelihood, leaving them to deal with water-borne diseases. The traditional ruler of Oko Kingdom, Osita Onwuka, has employed the federal government to provide a lasting solution to the residents of Oko communities.
The Nigerian Meteorological Agency had earlier warned of heavy rainfall and possible flooding across the country this year. Now, those warnings have become reality as rising waters from the river Niger continue to submerge homes, farmland, and roads in part of Delta State. In Oko Kingdom, residents are counting their losses as floodwater sweeps their farms and houses. Many say the flood have destroyed not only their crops, but also their means of livelihood and transportation, leaving families hungry and displaced.
Now, water they carry our things where we both yam, both cassava. We don't they get anything for every year. And we don't see what in chop, we go chop.
We just plant. The flood, they disturb us.
Health workers in the area warn that the disaster has triggered a rise in waterborne disease, with reports of child death linked to delayed access to health care due to flooded routes.
A lot of them are complaining of this typhoid, malaria, and even cholera. Just a couple of a week, a young man just called, and before I could come to this place, the child just passed on.
Walking inside the water, it makes sometimes disturb us by inching. So when they come here, we'll place them on draws that will stop the inching.
The traditional ruler of Oko Kingdom, His Royal Majesty Osita Unwuka, says the recurring disaster is caused by undredged River Niger. He laments that the flood have left communities in hardship and forced many residents to flee their homes every year. He's appealing to the federal government to dredge the river to bring a permanent solution.
We are still expecting that when that is dredged, the high rising water during flooding will definitely drop. Because if you check the River Niger has been filled up with sand already. That little water uprise, it will start overflowing into the uplands.
Delta State Commissioner for Environment, Ejiro Germany, sympathized with affected residents, noting that the state had issued early warnings and conducted sensitization campaign ahead of the flooding. He says the government is working to cushion the impact on displaced families.
The state has a flood disaster management committee set up by His Excellency the Governor, and the chairman of that committee is the Secretary to State Government. The committee is responsible for flood management.
As communities in Oko and across Delta battles the flood, residents says what they need now goes beyond relief materials. They need lasting solutions to end the yearly cycle of destruction and displacement.
As the effects of climate change intensifies globally, women are taking the lead in driving conversations and demanding actions to protect their communities and environment. At the Women's Climate Assembly themed, promoting women's critical role in climate change, mitigating initiatives. Stakeholders, activists and experts from around the world gathered to highlight the urgent need for gender-inclusive climate policies and stronger environmental protection measures.
Globally, reports have shown that women and children continue to suffer the harshest effects of climate change. Rising to this challenge, women are mobilizing to raise awareness and demand urgent intervention from world leaders. The Women Climate Assembly, an environmental advocacy organization, is leading a global call for collective action to address the climate crisis. At its recent forum themed Promoting Women's Critical Role in Climate Change Mitigating Initiatives, the participants decried the growing pollution and environmental degradation in regions such as the Niger Delta, describing it as a visible crime that endangers livelihoods and health. The Executive Director of Quebec-Kache Women Development Resource Center, Okon, at the forum expressed concern over the worsening climate situation, stating that humanity is in danger and must continue to speak out. She emphasized that even when authorities appear unresponsive, persistent advocacy will eventually make them listen.
We took blood samples from 80 women in Otuabagi. 100% of them have percentages of hydrocarbon, crude oil, inside their blood at percentages beyond the permissible limit of World Health Organization. So we are in danger. So that's why we must always have to speak out. They will hear, even when they will pretend they have not heard.
The keynote speaker of the conference, Professor Ngobo Enese, at the event condemned the high level of pollution in the Niger Delta area, describing it as a visible crime that remains unaddressed by the government despite being in 2025. She questioned how authorities planned to implement effective policies to restore the environment and reduce the adverse effects of pollution on women and local communities.
Pollution, for instance, in the Niger Delta, I think it's a crime. It's a crime that we are where we are in 2025 with the level of pollution that we have in the Niger Delta, and that as a government we have been unable to address that. It's an open crime, everybody can see it. So how do we address that? How do we ensure we put the policies in place to remediate the environment so that we address the impacts on women?
Also speaking at the event, Professor Donley Patricia, an advocate for development and gender, noted that women produce over 50% of the world's food and are vital to conservation and community resilience. She warned that excluding women from the climate action would endanger future sustainability.
Farmers will produce more than 50% of the food And if our environment is degraded, what food can we produce? We are key stakeholders in the climate change discussion and action. If it comes to conservation, we are there. If it comes to community resilience, we are there. So any government that excludes women in climate action holds itself accountable to the peril that they will face in the future.
They warned that excluding women from climate action will have their future consequences. Carolina de Moura, leader of the Brazilian delegation, criticized the current global energy transition, describing it as a new form of colonialism driven by patriarchy and racism. She expressed concern that increased mining for critical minerals like lithium would worsen environmental and social problems rather than solve them, adding that women's groups are campaigning against such exploitative practices.
It's a new way of colonialism with a very strong patriarchat and racism. So we are talking that this energy transition, it's not going to solve the problem, and we are very worried about this mining for the companies mining, putting ourselves like who will save the planet, because we know this will definitely not happen. We are already facing problems with these critical minerals like lithium and other ones. So we are in a campaign against this energy transition.
The forum also criticized exploitative mining and the ongoing energy transition, describing them as modern forms of colonialism driven by patriarchy and racism. Participants pledged to strengthen cooperation and push for gender-inclusive climate policies that prioritize the welfare of frontline communities.
Let's go on a break. When we return, we will tell you why the federal government will no longer allow flight tickets to be sold in dollars by foreign airlines. That's on business. Please don't go away. Welcome back. Let's join Praise Adeleke for our business stories.
Yeah, welcome to Business News. The federal government is set to end the sale of flight tickets in dollars by foreign airlines operating in Nigeria, according to the president of the National Association of Nigerian Travel Agency, Yinka Folami. He disclosed this while speaking on the Cultural and Tourism Program in Lagos over the weekend. Folami described the practice as a crime against the economy, stressing that it exerts unnecessary pressure on the Naira and contradicts aviation regulations. He noted that the government had begun addressing the issue following persistent complaints from travel agencies across the country. The NATO president emphasized the need to support domestic airlines, as this would help eliminate the practice of foreign ticket sales in dollars and promote a more stable aviation sector. And lastly, on business news, the global oil prices tumbled to around $64 per barrel, far below Nigeria's $75 benchmark. The nation faces rising fiscal and exchange rate pressure. Still, bold reforms by the Central Bank of Nigeria are boosting foreign exchange inflows and strengthening the Naira despite the oil slump. CBN Governor Olayemi Kaduso said the Apex Bank strategy focuses on rebuilding reserves, promoting non-oil exports, encouraging diaspora remittances, and strengthening local production to reduce dependence on crude oil revenue. The reforms have lifted Nigeria's external reserves to $43.4 billion, marking a 6-year high and improving import cover from 7 to 11 months. Analyst says that the measures have boosted investor confidence and supported exchange rate stability, even as oil output and prices remain volatile. The CBN maintains that sustained structural reforms and coordination with fiscal policies will be crucial to protecting the economy from future oil shocks. And that's all on business news. Back to you, Lydia.
Thank you, Praise. And on the foreign scene, Tanzania has been thrown into tension after President Samia Suluhu Hassan was declared winner of the country's recent presidential election, with a staggering 98% of the vote. The result has sparked outrage among opposition supporters, who insist the election was heavily manipulated and far from credible. The announcement came as a large part of Tanzania's experienced widespread internet blackout with social media platforms restricted and messaging services slowed down. Many citizens believe the blackout was intentional, aimed at preventing live updates, independent reporting and public mobilization during the voting period and announcement of results. The election also produced a notable moment with the emergence of Ali Mamdi, who secured a key seat as an opposition figure, a breakthrough that has energized many young and female voters. However, her supporters have also joined calls for transparency, stating that her victory should not be used to mask what they describe as an uneven electoral field. Protests have since broken out in Dar es Salaam, Arusha, Mwanza, and several other cities, with demonstrators demanding a review of the votes and calling on the Electoral Commission to explain how the ruling party achieved such a near-total victory. Security forces have been deployed across major streets, with reports of clashes in some areas. The Chadian government has reportedly closed its border with Nigeria amid widespread online speculation of a possible United States military operation in West Africa, though no official confirmation has been issued by either government. Reports show that the decision was followed by intelligence reports suggesting that armed groups operating in northern Nigeria were attempting to cross into Chadian territory. The reports linked the move to rumors of a U.S. invasion plan in the region, a claim that has not been verified by credible sources. Regional observers have noted that in past months, both Chad and Nigeria have increased military patrols in border communities to curb insurgent movements. At least 20 people have been confirmed dead and more than 500 injured after a powerful earthquake struck northern Afghanistan early on Monday. Authorities say most of the casualties were recorded in Balkh and Samangan provinces, where hundreds of homes and buildings were damaged, including the historic Blue Mosque in Maez Sharif, a 15th century landmark which also sustained partial damage. Reports show that local officials have mobilized emergency teams to affected areas, while hospitals have been placed on alert to handle the surging casualties, with the United Nations mission in Afghanistan reportedly supporting rescue and relief operations. Officials warned that the death toll could rise as rescuers reach remote villages cut off by rough terrain, as reports confirm that the latest disaster comes just months after a powerful quake in the country's east killed more than 2,000 people. Imole Johnson is our guide in the world of sports. Hello, Imole.
Thank you and welcome to Sports. I am Imole Johnson. Nigeria is making its second appearance at the 2025 World Sambo Championship, scheduled for November 7th to 9th in Bishkek, Kyrgyzstan. The Nigerian contingent comprises 3 athletes: Fatai Balogun, competing in the men's 88kg combat Sambo category; Samuel Kekere, who made history in 2024 as the first African to compete in the 64kg blind Sambo; and debutant Sodiq Ajibade, who will contest the men 98kg blind Sambo and is aiming for a podium finish. The event is organized by the Federation Internationale de Sambo and features sports, combat, and blind Sambo disciplines. The Nigerian team acknowledges the support from the National Association's officials in facilitating their participation. And on to our last story, Nigerian para-badminton star Eniola Bolaji secured a silver medal in the women's single SL3 category at the 2025 Indonesia Para-Badminton International. The 20-year-old ranked world number 2 reached her 6th final of the year but was forced to retire from the match when training 20-16 in the first set due to injury. Due to some unforeseen circumstances, I had to retire. It wasn't an easy decision, but sometimes our body reminds us that we are only human, Bolaji posted. Despite the setback, the medal adds to our growing list of achievements and reinforces our status as one of Africa's leading para-badminton athletes. And that's it on sports. And that's all on sports. Back to you for the rest of the bulletin.
Thank you, Imole. We go over to our entertainment desk where Fawaz Akoshile is standing by. Hello, Fawaz.
Thank you very much. What was meant to be an electrifying night of Afrobeat at the Michael Opara Square, Enugu, turned chaotic as fans complained of overcrowding, theft, and harassment during Davido's 5-tour stop on Saturday, November 1st. The concert, which reportedly drew over 40,000 attendees, far exceeding the venue's 20,000 capacity, was marred by poor crowd control and lack security. Davido, expected to perform by 4 p.m., allegedly did not appear until around 3 a.m., sparking anger and frustration among concert goers. Attendees took to social media to share disturbing experiences. A TikTok user, Adis Beautification, claimed that the gates were broken and touts entered without a ticket, saying they used razor blade to tear bags. My phone was stolen. Another user, Hair by Steph, alleged harassment and overcrowding, saying they were pressing girls in the crowd. It was unsafe. Videos circulating on TikTok and X, formerly Twitter, showed chaotic scenes as fans pushed through security barriers. Many people have blamed organizers for failing to ensure safety, especially for women. As of press time, neither Davido nor the event organizers have released a statement addressing the complaint. Moving on, Nigerian Afrobeat star Omale has revealed he is not ready to become a baby daddy anytime soon. The singer shared on his Snapchat story saying he is currently in his calm and peaceful era and has no plans to become a father soon. I am very much not ready to be a baby daddy, he said. I am their father in the highest, at peace in heaven. Omale also reflected on life, saying that despite his challenges, it barely affects him. Everything happens for a reason, but nothing ever happens to me. I don't expect you to understand, he added. As of now, the singer revealed that he is single and currently does not feel like he wants to be in any relationship. That's all on entertainment today. Back to you for the rest of the bulletin.
Thank you, Fawaz. That's where we draw the curtain on this bulletin. Thanks for tuning in to African News 24 TV. Follow us on all our social media platforms. And please check our websites at africannews24.ng to stay informed and ahead. We'll catch you on the next broadcast. I'm Mary Adam. Bye for now.